You're listening to Rendezvous with the Writer with Bobbi Jean and Jim Bell, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to Rendezvous with the Writer, where readers and writers meet.
And story is everything.
We're your hosts tonight, Jim and Bobby Bell. You've just been listening to Hot Texas, the Hot Texas Swing Band by our friend Alex Dormont.
Yes, out of Texas, of course. And we're delighted that you're with us tonight for episode 152. And if you're watching us live, streaming to Facebook or YouTube, again, of course, the show will come up immediately afterwards for you to rewatch. And then later tonight, it'll be posted on Podbean, and you'll be able to find it on your favorite channels like Spotify, Amazon Music, and such. And we have, thanks to Clicks by Madison and Blue Cottage Agency, we recently launched a web page where it's all things rendezvouswithawriter.com. And if you go there, you can see all the places that you can catch the show. And there's a contact us spot. You know, that contact, yeah. So if you're interested in being we answer. And if you're interested in being a sponsor or being on the show, please feel free to contact us through that spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who's our guest tonight?
Candace Simon.
Candace. Hello, Candace.
Hello.
She's been on before.
She sure has. Welcome back. Candace, where are you joining us from?
I'm from Pequot Lakes, Minnesota.
Yeah. And last time Candace was with us was, I think, March of 2024. Yes. And at that time, we talked about your book that had just come out, Sister Lumberjack. We had such a fun time. Tell us a little, can you give us just a little, what's been going on with you since you were with us a year ago?
Well, Sister Lumberjack has been doing very well. Recently, I received 3 awards for it, which is thrilling. I took the gold in the Midwest Book Award. I was a runner-up for the Willa Literary Award in historical fiction. And I took 3rd place in the Catholic Media Awards in the category of Catholic novel, which was huge to me, a national contest, you know.
Yeah. This time of year, Candace, for those of us that may not know, is this a time of year when a lot of awards are presented and a kind of an exciting time to be sitting on the edge of your seat?
Well, my Sister Lumberjack came out in March of 2024, and the contest that I have been part of, the book is written the previous year. So it's taken all this time for the contest to have their winners announced. It's been a thrilling summer for me.
Yeah, I bet it is. Well, Jim has a little bio. I think, shall we go ahead and officially introduce
Let's read
Candace?
the bio. And it covers a couple of things that I think Candace just mentioned. Multi-award-winning author Candace Simar writes historical fiction set in Minnesota and North Dakota. Her Spur Award-winning Abercrombie Trail series tells the stories of the U.S.-Dakota War. Escape to Fort Abercrombie won both a Will Rogers Gold Medallion and the Peacemakers Award. Released in 2024, Sister Lumberjack was a gold medalist winner in the Midwest Book Awards, a Willow finalist, and a Willow finalist. It also placed 3rd in the Catholic novel by Catholic Media Awards.
Oh.
All right, Candace.
Welcome, Candace. So is there something fun you'd like to share that maybe we couldn't find out about you in any online, page or website or anything? Something fun to share, maybe?
Well, I've been thinking about that question, and I do my best writing at monasteries. I visit Benedictine monasteries and sometimes stay for a week or two, and they have a wing of rooms that they let writers stay in to do their craft, which
Oh,
is
that is
very unusual.
that is so
It
interesting.
is.
Yeah.
And I
I
do my
wanna-
best writing at monasteries because I'm not distracted.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. How long have you been doing that?
Probably about going to monasteries, probably about 15 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have some favorites, or do you always just have fun
Same
searching and searching a new one?
I've been to two of them. There's one in Minnesota that I go to quite often, and then another one in Bismarck, North Dakota, where I really love to go. So,
That's really fun.
That
What
is
a
true.
great idea. We need to become writers so we can do
Go to
that.
monastery?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. They give you wine too?
oh, there's wine sometimes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna jump ahead a couple of questions. You have some writing classes. Do you conduct those classes there or someplace else?
I love the writing craft. I study it just all the time. I'm an independent learner. I haven't learned it all yet. I keep learning more and more. I've been studying the novel for 25 years, and I feel now I'm just getting it. It takes a long time to learn the writing craft. And so I've been doing some writing workshops. I have a couple of them coming up now, and every winter I do an online class with Blue Cottage Agency called Pencil to Paper. 6 weeks, 2 hours a week. We go over the intricacies of the craft. There are assignments. It's just a great time. I look forward to that every year.
How fun.
We knew one of our authors we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, Joe Brown. I know he was in one of your classes not
He
too long
was,
ago.
yes.
Yeah. Are there students, or do you look for them to be already at some kind of level of experience or expertise, or are you willing to work with the person who just has a dream of writing and doesn't even know where to start?
I've had students at all levels and all genres.
Good.
Yeah, and all genres.
Yeah.
Is there a genre that you particularly like to teach?
Well, I like historical fiction very much. I've done many classes on historical fiction, which is my favorite, and that's what I write.
Yeah. So when you're teaching that, are you also spending a little bit of time on research, or how to go about research, or do you just figure they'll learn that on their own?
Well, I learned to research from Larry McMurtry from Lonesome Dove fame. I took a writing class from his writing partner, Diana Osana, and she taught us to research like Larry did. And his method was to do all your research first, put it aside, and then write your book so that the research comes organically out of the story. And it works for me. Sometimes I go back and do a little more research if something comes up, but the bulk of it is done before I start.
Yeah. How
interesting. When did you first start writing, Candace?
Well, I was a nurse all my life, and I got the bug in my mid-40s. That would be about 25 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And I just got the bug to do it. So started going to classes and keep going to classes, keep studying the writing craft.
Yeah. Tonight we're going to be talking about your soon to be released, although we now have learned that the box arrived and the book is out.
That's true.
And so we're so happy that Candace has a real book to hold up to the camera.
Yes, it came yesterday.
That's so fun.
Very good.
We're talking about Montana matrimonial news. How did the idea come to you for this really engaging story?
I was reading a blog by Michael Zimmer, and many of you may know him for his wonderful Westerns, including The Poacher's Daughter. And he writes blogs. I was reading his blog about the Montana Matrimonial News, which was a real newspaper out of Montana in the 19th century, and it was fully devoted to personal ads. It was like the dating app today, only it was for the homesteaders and the women who were looking for men, the men that were looking for women. And that lit my brain on fire. And I started writing stories about homesteaders looking for wives. And I had a bunch of great uncles who were homesteaders, and I was able to pull on some of the family stories of these great uncles. And that was fun. When my characters speak, my great uncle's voice sounds in my head. So it was fun to write the dialogue. Also, I had written some stories about Dr. Gumla, the midwife, almost doctor. I had them in anthologies, they had won prizes, and it just seemed natural to have the homesteaders and then this midwife is in the mix. And it seemed to work for me. I can't explain it, but that's what the story I was given.
Yeah. Do you have a question before we go to our first break?
How long did that matrimonial news? How long did that publish? Yeah, I assume that we're talking about 1888, 1889, 1900. Did it go well into the 20th century?
I believe it went into the 20th century a ways.
How did people get it, Candace? Did they subscribe or did it come, free to the local general store or, and they went and picked it up? How did people get it?
I think they subscribed.
They did.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they subscribed. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, how fun.
Yeah.
We are going to take a very quick break. We're so happy to see you and see your smile and have you with us tonight, Candace. We're going to take a very short break and we're going to hear from our sponsors, Blue Cottage Agency and Clicks by Madison. Are you a writer? Maybe you'd like to increase your social media presence or refresh your website, or like we just did, have finally a website or a really active landing page. Our sponsors, Blue Cottage Agency and Clicks by Madison, are standing by to assist you. And here's exciting news about a new feature they're offering to writers. When we come back, we're going to be taking the first of our in-depth looks into Montana matrimonial news. Don't go away. Authors, welcome home. Every author needs a website, a home base for their brand. Professionally showcase your books and brand with a custom website landing page starting at $369. BlueBookshelf.com. It's a great feeling to be home. Contact the Blue Cottage team today to get started.
Welcome back to Rendezvous with the Writer. Special guest, Candace Simar. We're talking about her book. It's Bobbi's holding up the front page here. Montana matrimonial news. It's about hooking people up, isn't it?
You have to say it fast, 3 times fast.
Candace, did you want to read a passage?
I will read a short passage from the opening of the book. Digger Dancy is my main character in the book. December 1888. Digger Dancy paced back and forth across his soddy, 10 steps from door to stove, 11 steps from table to bed. He had survived 4 long winters. He would survive now. It was a matter of mental discipline. He focused on pleasant things, playing baseball in July, a keg of beer cooled in the river, turning the crank at the ice cream social, dancing to a polka band. Don't think about Christmas coming. Don't count the months until spring. Don't worry about your brother. Read, sing, recite poetry. Read some more. Remember the poems you memorized in school. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere and the Bible verses you learned in Sunday school. Jesus wept. God is love. The Lord is my shepherd. Get a hold of yourself. Digger cracked open the door and peered out into the storm. A white curtain of blowing snow wrapped the world into a cocoon. He couldn't see a thing. Yesterday, the storm roared out of Canada and dumped 3 feet of snow across Dakota Territory. Snow was still coming down. Icy cold robbed his breath. He slammed the door and added kerosene to the lamp. The earthen walls absorbed the light, leaving only a feeble glow.
You can just see it,
Very
can't
good.
you? You can just see it.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
you
can.
can just see it.
And Digger's an interesting guy. We'll be talking about him
Yeah.
more a little bit later.
Yes, yes. I really like Digger and his brother George. They're really so when of your uncles, was there one in particular that when you wrote Digger came to you, or was it just, them coming using all of them, all of their voices?
Well, my great uncle Louis was a bachelor all his life. While he was homesteading in South Dakota, he received word that his fiancée had died of an illness. I suspect it was diphtheria, but I don't know for sure. And he sat out his claim, sold it, and never worked again. He lived off his income. He took care of his elderly mother. He just lost his drive after losing her. And when he was in his 80s, a new preacher asked why he never married. And he just shrugged and said, "Nobody ever asked me." And that's the story of my homesteader uncle. Just that dry
Interesting.
sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. Could you just tell us just a little bit about homesteading? That's an important part of the book here. So how did
Well,
that
I
work?
really studied homesteading a lot and also building sod houses. And I thought both
Yeah.
were fascinating. Also, the way they did the haying of the prairie grass is totally fascinating. But the homestead law, you had to file and you promised the government that you would sit on your claim for 5 years, build a dwelling, and put a crop in. And if you succeeded in doing that, you would have a free title at the end of 5 years. However, it was very strict. You were not to leave your claim. You couldn't go live some other place. You had to be the head of your family. So in my book, I have 2 homesteaders, male and female, falling in love and not able to get married because she would have lost her claim over that unless he bought it outright. And of course, he had no money. But just very interesting the way the
Yeah.
laws worked.
Yeah. You
It seemed like,
go ahead.
well, yeah, I'm sorry. It
No,
seemed
go,
like it
go.
was easy. It wasn't necessarily easy, but it wasn't uncommon for somebody to try to steal somebody else's claim by if he went away for a little bit, all of a sudden you got somebody else sitting there.
Yes, people would come in there and they could contest that you weren't following the rules if you weren't there. So they had a leg to stand on.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm. You but the book is has an interesting structure to it. And by the way, we both are crazy about this book. It's just so readable and the characters are so engaging. And each situation is kind of unusual and unpredictable. Things could go any number of ways.
Well, none of these people lead an easy life.
No, no, they don't. And for the reader, it is, you don't want to miss anything, but you also can kind of read a story and you can go to bed. And you might want to stay up and keep reading, but you can read, put it aside, and read again, put it aside. It's just that you have a break at work, you can read it at lunch. I mean, it's just, you don't want it to leave your fingers, but it's just Candace, it's just a wonderful book, and we were just
Thank
thrilled
you
to
very much.
have a chance to read it. But it does have an interesting structure. Tell us a little bit about how you came up with the way it lays out.
Well, it's written in the form of interconnected stories that together form a novel. And I love that idea. I loved Sherwood Anderson's Winesburg, Ohio. That was written 100 years ago or more. And that was written in the same vein, where you'd read about one character and then you'd read about his neighbor and then his neighbor and then his neighbor. And you get the idea of everyone is important in this area. Each has his own story. Each feels he's the head of his own, the main character in his own book. So I love that.
Yeah. And they all share some things in common, including sort of time and place. Where and when did you set the storylines?
I set the story in Nickel Bow, North Dakota, along the Mad Dog River, which is a fabricated town and river. The reason I did that was because I didn't want people who lived there feeling I was exploiting them in any way. I grew up in prairie country and loved the prairie. And it just made sense for me to have in North Dakota, right before it became a state, there were all these political things going on, people getting started, people failing, people going home. It was much harder than they expected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of these people were starting new lives. They either came from dysfunctional families, or a spouse died, a parent died. They were on their own. Some were trying to hook up with perhaps a new partner, trying to start a new life, and everything was pretty tough.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
tough. And
Yeah.
when you read the ads in the Montana Matrimonial News, there would be women prison guards who wanted a change in their life, or someone trying to get out of the workhouse, or widows, or old maids, people that just weren't finding what they wanted where they lived. And this was a chance for something new.
Yeah.
Different.
I think George and Digger, in that very first chapter that you were reading, they were like, we needed to get away from our mom and all those gossips in town, to get as far away. They were in Iowa. She was in Iowa, Indiana, Iowa. Yeah.
It seems that these folks, as they start to try to establish a homestead, they have to build something to live in. And would you talk to us about sod housing just a moment?
Yes, and also dugouts. I had ancestors who lived in dugouts at first. The reason being, before the trains were spread out west, if, like my ancestors, came to as far as a train would take them and then had to go by wagon the rest of the way, that would take a good part of the summer to get where the land was available. And so when they got there late, they did not have time to build a better dwelling. So they dug a hole in the side of a riverbank or the side of a hill and lived in basically a root cellar. And my relatives, in physics, you learn that you cannot have a dugout wider than 9 feet because the physics of it would make the roof collapse. Well, my ancestors were not versed in physics, and so they built the wrong dimensions, and it was very tragic. They had already lost a child along the way, and the wife was totally disconsolate. And in the spring, there was a sudden thaw and the roof caved in. And he was out trying to fix the roof, and a blizzard came in, and he got pneumonia and died.
Oh my gosh.
And People were anxious to get out of the dugouts as soon as possible because they could not have windows, and it was so dark and full of mice and bugs and snakes and everything. The sod house was a step up, and I learned about making sod houses, which was totally fascinating. And then up from that would be a wood house, but they would have to have some kind of income on the prairie to afford a wood house.
Oh, yeah.
I got to thinking, about the wood house, besides thinking about sod houses, a lot of times on the prairie, there weren't any trees.
Right.
Right.
So wood would be tough to come by, wouldn't it?
Yes. It would be tough to come by. I live in Minnesota, and Sister Lumberjack talked about the harvest of the white pine in the northern half of Minnesota, and that is basically what built the country. It built a lot of houses in Dakotas, but they would have to have it shipped in and buy it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You described, we were talking, when we talked the other day, you describing somebody in a sod house that they weren't able to put any planks on the roof or stuck on the roof or anything. So obviously they were exposed to the dirt of the sod, and they would cook over a stove with an umbrella.
Yes, there was something in the research about a woman who always cooked holding an umbrella because she didn't like dirt falling into the kettles.
Smart woman.
Yes.
They had to become very, they had to really adapt to things. The matrimonial news, the Montana matrimonial news, real newspaper, of course, it is a major thread also through every story. And it shows up in one way or another, and people use it very creatively. Besides being the personal ads, or as you were talking about, sort of the high tech of the time for a dating app, what are some of the other ways, Candace, that they used that newspaper?
Of course, they used it in the outhouse. Some women used it as wallpaper because anything over the dark wall would be cheerier, lighter. They used it for starting fires.
Yeah.
They used it for insulation. I mean, any paper at all was valuable. Nothing was wasted.
Yeah. Yeah. Could probably stuff their shoes with it if they had to. I know that was something you saw people doing in the Depression years. You mentioned already a little bit about the brothers Digger and George Dancy, and you also mentioned just in passing, kind of, you teased us a little bit about Dr. Gumla. And we're going to take a break in a moment, but if you could just touch on her for a moment, we're going to be getting in greater depth about her in our next little segment. But my goodness, what a fascinating character. Tell us a little bit about her.
Oh, I just loved writing about Dr. Gumla. Dr. Gumla, which means old doctor woman in Norwegian, her real name was Olava Wick, was a real person who lived in Minnesota back in the 1800s, and she was the midwife to my great-grandmother. And I grew up hearing stories about the old witch lady who used herbal remedies, and people thought she was a witch. And but she was the only doctor they had, and so everyone respected her and called on her when they needed a doctor. And she was just a fascinating character. And I fictionalized her, of course, but she was really unique, not afraid to speak her mind and tell people what to do.
Which they needed. I mean, and she not only understood medically what was necessary or health-wise what was necessary, but she gives really good counsel, doesn't she?
She does. I had great fun writing her character, and I'm not done writing about her yet. There will be more Dr. Gumla stories. Yeah.
We canceled. He said, "Do this or else."
We're going to talk more with Candace about Dr. Gumla as well as some other fascinating characters in this book. But we're going to step away for just a moment to tell you about one of the places you can order the books of many of our featured author guests, including tonight's featured title, Montana Matrimonial News. Find their books on the Out West Shop affiliate page on bookshop.org. And when we come back, we'll be talking more with Candace Simar. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Story is everything. Find a great one on Out West Shop's bookshop. Go to outwestshop.com. Find books and CDs on the menu. Choose Shop Out West on bookshop.org. Browse through featured authors on Rendezvous with a Writer. Explore curated book lists and our featured picks. Add in note cards, calendars, and jigsaw puzzles. One-stop shopping for great gifts. Use the search box to find thousands more titles. Make the switch. Your purchase supports us as independent booksellers. That's our story.
Welcome back to Monday with a Writer. We're talking to Candace Simar in her book, Montana Matrimonial News.
Welcome back,
Yes.
Candace.
Just out.
Just out. Oh my gosh. How fun to be talking with you, and the book just arrived.
Candace, you just started introducing this character, Dr. Gumwall, and of course she ties all the stories together, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
But we got a little quote about her. It kind of gives you a little description. Dr. Gumwall's face pruned with wrinkles, and she reeked of camphor and garlic. Though she was old as Methuselah, she helped wherever she was needed. She was often heard to say, "My cures work if you can stand them."
I think she says that in every storyline, doesn't
She
she?
says that in every story.
In every story. Oh my goodness. Before we talk about some of the specific characters, Jim, you always love to start this segment with your favorite question.
Well, I figure authors pretty much got the characters under control, but do they ever surprise you?
My characters surprise me all the time. And when they do, that's when I think I'm doing it right.
There
Because
you
I don't want the characters to be controlled by me. I want them to live on the page.
Yeah.
go. That's
Yeah.
good.
Were there any characters that kind of showed up and just demanded that they be included in a story or two?
Yes, Ingrid Larson.
Oh, Ingrid.
Ingrid is a very unique character. I had so much fun writing Ingrid's character. And then at the end, I won't spoil it for people reading the book, but she really surprised me at the very end. And that came out of nowhere. I can't tell you where that came. But
That's
very
great,
interesting.
Yeah, she's a stitch.
She was a stitch.
Oh my gosh. You
Yes.
did tell us a little bit about the uncles and how they have found their way into the book. Are there other people that you have met in your life that sort of found their way into characters on these pages?
Yes, I grew up with very strong women. I knew daughters of pioneers and my grandparents. I just grew up with that type of a woman, and it was very natural for me to write Dr. Gumla and also my other female characters. They just came very natural to me, and also the men in the stories, they just seemed alive to me as I wrote them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the men were all pretty interesting characters. They jumped. Some were pretty serious. Some were kind of funny. Some were kind of not quite worthless, but
Yep, some were worthless.
The men, and Dr. Gumla has a lot to say about, how men shirk sometimes, and they can't, they can't handle some of the tough physical things that women go through, like childbirth.
Yes.
And she just has such wise. She just calls it like it is, and she gets it right every time.
Well, the real Dr. Gumla was famous for the salve that she made. And remember, back in the 1800s, there was no antibiotic treatment. There was very little to treat a wound with. But she made this salve, and she claimed it would draw a 10-penny nail out of the wall. It had such drawing power. And people came from all over to have that salve. And there was a man in North Dakota who got stuck in a blizzard and had both his feet frozen very badly. They put him on a train in North Dakota to go to St. Paul, Minnesota, to have both legs amputated. And a guy on the train convinced him to stop off where Dr. Gumla lived and see what she could do. And she took her petticoat stave and she sharpened it and cut off the front half of his feet without anesthesia. And she had no respect for the man. She said he cried like a baby. Even with his good Viking blood, he was totally worthless. And she said she had tended women in childbirth who almost split in two without a peep. And this man couldn't even take a little sawing on his feet. She had no sympathy.
Yeah, she uses that about Viking blood. She makes
the
that
Viking blood
reference
was
often,
very
doesn't
important
she?
to her.
Yeah.
It does seem like
she-
it would hurt your toes.
Yeah.
Yep, and she, that really happened. And the man not only did not lose his legs, but he could still walk with some sticks because he had most of his feet. And he sang her praises all over the area.
Yeah.
Because she had
And
saved his legs.
You have a character, Oscar, that kind of goes
Oscar,
through
yes.
Yeah.
I gave that to Oscar.
that same situation, and she does sing her praises. She has a satchel. I don't know what the doctors, but I don't know what I can't recall what you call
sack.
it.
A sack.
A sack. Okay. That sack. And she's a real, to me, she's a real flesh and blood woman. She is not a witch. There's none of that sort of supernatural. She also makes lots of references to God and to faith. And I feel that she's very rooted there. But she reaches in that sack. And to me, after some stories, it was like Mary Poppins going into that carpet bag of hers. It's just
Everything's
everything. She carries everything in there. What are some of the things that she would pull out of that sack when she needed, Candace?
Well, she didn't trust people having clean dishes. And of course, some of those homesteaders, dishwashing was low on the priority. So she always brought her own fork and plate along and her own cup. She knew that a lot of them didn't have coffee, so she would bring coffee beans and her own grinder and make coffee sometimes at the houses. She always carried a little sleeping mat with her and different things, herbs and spices, different things that she used.
That gives you everything with the kitchen sink.
There's one episode where I think it's the Berserkers, I think is the one. And she's so tired. She's so tired, but she's been called and she goes. She always goes. And she bites on a lemon rind, I think.
Yes.
She's found that always kind of clears her head and takes the fog away and sort of calms her down. And she reaches in that sack, thinking, where she got this? She had it in a baggie, like in a Ziploc bag in there.
Yes.
Yeah, she just, and she doesn't really even have to peer in there. She just seems to, go in the sack and there's the thread and the needles and, there's whatever. I think she must just say a little prayer as she reaches in there and suddenly, what she needs is right there at hand. She's so fun.
Well, and I don't being a doctor, of course, at first, health people aren't exactly totally confident in her it's kind of like a
Well,
Bill's long, and
reputation. Yeah.
it's case by case by case. But you have to admit, she's somewhat clairvoyant, and
Yeah.
she has a way of solving folks' problems.
Yeah.
There's a couple other characters we
Yeah.
might ask
Let's
about.
call out a
Let's
character.
try that guy Stubby.
Stubby.
What's his story?
Well, Stubby was the barber, and he had been basically a medic in the Civil War 30 years before. And he had been an assistant to a surgeon. The surgeon operated on the Union boys, and Stubby was given the Confederates to do surgery on. And I based that on someone I read about in a real unit of the Union Army, that they let an assistant take care of the rebels. And so I thought that was a good way to bring in the history a little bit of the time. And so I have Oscar, who is also a veteran, and Stubby, and they're both alcoholics. And
Yes.
Stubby has the skill to do what Dr. Gamla really doesn't, but because he's so unreliable, she ends up doing a lot of the work he should be doing. And so they end up getting in kind of a long distance feud. They feud all through the book, and she calls him every name under the sun. Yeah.
You know, I couldn't say necessarily for Oscar, but I thought for Stubby, perhaps all that he saw in the war,
Oh,
he had a
yeah.
lot of demons that he was probably
Yes, he
trying to
did.
hide from.
Yes. And Oscar
Yeah.
too.
Oscar too.
And Oscar too. Okay, tell us a little bit about, I really like this couple, Magnus Madsen, and she brings into his life Hannah Lothan, and that was I think the second story in the book, Night Riding, and it happens on Christmas Eve.
Yes. I love that story. It's one of my favorite stories I've ever written. And Dr. Gamla takes care of an unmarried woman who had a baby. And she knows there's a bachelor right across the Mad Dog River. And so in the middle of the night, she goes to his house and tries to convince him to marry a stranger and raise that baby as his own. And I just really love that story so much.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story, and we meet him really sort of as a Gumla. Dr. Gumla's there in desperation, isn't
In
he?
desperation. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
She's,
She just knows.
but the doc, she's
She
so
just
good at convincing people to do something they thought, but I would never do
Yeah,
that.
and she just shows up. Like another situation was well why don't I have it written down? Oh my goodness. Okay, never mind. I got another great one here.
What's right now?
So yeah. So I really also liked is it Asa Wainwright and son of a May Hogue, the Wainwrights, and
Yes.
that story is Ring on Her Finger. That's a
Yes.
love story. Yeah.
Yes, she thinks she loves him. But the more she wants to leave her hometown and her parents, the more she loves him. She kind of talks herself into going out to marry this guy that she hardly knows.
Yeah.
And it's very different when she gets there. I like
Yeah.
that story very much. I think
Yeah.
that lots of young women get married and don't really know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And a cautionary tale. Yes.
Well, and we learn something that I know that buffalo or bison often would go off cliffs, but you have buffalo bones as an interesting part of this story that I, as a reader, we always kind of like to learn something new. And
Right.
I find in historical fiction, that's often where we do. And that's another thing that I enjoyed about that story. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at the time. Okay, Candace, just stay right where you are. We're going to step away for one more moment to hear a word from another of our sponsors, and that's Out West Shop, and that's our business, outwestshop.com. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Candace, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
Here at the Out West Shop, we're passionate about the American West, the truth and the myth. We're purveyors of fine Western goods. We scout for unique and distinctive apparel, accessories, home decor, and general merchandise that are a reflection of the Western lifestyle. We hunt for unique artisans and craftsmen who are inspired to create decorative art you can wear based on their own love for the story of the West. We round it up and bring it to you. Check out OutWestShop.com when you need anything Western.
Welcome back to Rendezvous with the Writer. We're talking to Candace Simar about her book, Montana Matrimonial News.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big mouthful for me.
It is a mouthful.
I thought, I said earlier, I said, well, I got pretty good at Montana News, but let's see, Matrimonial. Put that in there. Candace, what are you working on next?
I'm working on some short stories right now. Honestly, I've been on the road with Sister Lumberjack, been very busy, and kind of took most of the summer off of writing. But I've started another story now, so I'll continue.
That's great.
Okay. Where can we find your books? We were just talking about that. You got them right now, right?
I have them. My books are available online. They're available in bookstores. Please ask your library to buy them. You can go to my website, www.candacesimar.com, and they will be available for sale there. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And any reviews that you would leave would be so appreciated, because for a small writer like me, the reviews make all the difference.
Yeah. Candace, you belong to a lot of writing groups. Very briefly, if a writer is listening to this and thinking about whether or not they should join a group, is there a key benefit or two that you would say join a group?
I joined Western Writers of America first, and it has benefited me so very much. I connected with publishers and other writers. I've had wonderful connections through them, very supportive group. And I feel the same about Women Writing the West. My work is considered frontier fiction, and that is bunched with the Western genre. Although my stories are not real Westerns, not the shoot 'em up cowboy kind, but they're frontier fiction.
Yeah. And they are wonderful. Jim, do you have a quote? Yeah.
We do have a quote here. We always like to end with a quote, and this is from the book. It's from the story Those Bereaved, which I thought was really a great story, by the way.
He couldn't say enough things about this story.
Their character Bertie, this lady, this poor lady, newly widowed young Bertie considers her options. Folks urged her to sell the farm and return to Wisconsin, but Mama was dead. The thought of her father's new wife made her teeth hurt. Paul would come if he thought he would profit from Jess's work, which was her husband. But Bertie would die before allowing that woman in her house. Her brother Luke swore he was innocent, but had 3 years left in Yuma prison. Innocent or not, she had no one else.
A moment of desperation. You got to read the story to find out what happens to Bertie.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank you once again, Candace, for being with us tonight. This again is episode 152, and it'll be available immediately for replay on the video, and the audio will be up later this evening on Podbean. We want to thank our sponsors, of course, Blue Cottage Agency and Clicks by Madison. We have a lot in common, Candace, don't we,
Yes.
with them? We want to thank Sam Hassan of LA Talk Radio and Alex Dormont and the Hot Texas Swing Band. And join us next week with returning guest Kathleen M. Rogers. And we will be talking about her next book that is going to be out any day. And we're very excited. There's a lot of buzz and excitement about this book. It's called The Llano County Mermaid Club. If you are a fan of Kathleen's, you will remember the last time she was on, we talked about her book, The Flying Cutterbucks. And Kathleen, if you're listening, we can't wait to have you with us next week. And Candace, again, thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
And Jim, do you have a parting comment?
We have a parting, again, thank you, Candace. We have a parting remark. It's always a great day out west.
Keep writing.
And we'll keep reading.
See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you, Candace.
Thank you.
Okay.